Jen friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the CHANAKYA Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Now, this is a major breaking. You would have already, heard part of it on television about the Delhi Declaration, about getting all the participants in the G20 summit on a common platform and saying, hey, we agree to this. And this sign-off is not easy because there are always geopolitical considerations. And nations function on interests. I mean, who can deny this? India will have its interests, China will have its interests, the US, Russia, and many of these countries, indirectly at least, if not directly, they're at war with each other. This is a time of great stress and strain. Look at India and China. While we have $125 billion worth of trade annually, we also have a 2-3-year-old standoff on the line of actual control. I mean, 3,600, almost 3,600 kilometers long line of actual control. And there are more than 500,000 troops on each side. Can you imagine? And yet, getting everybody on a common platform to sign off on a 37-page document, that is the Delhi Declaration. I think hats off to the skill of the Ministry of External Affairs, to Prime Minister Modi, to Dr. Jaishankar, to everybody who is involved in this entire, G20, organizing committee, especially people, the Sherpa who's involved in getting all these things aligned. I think it's a phenomenal job and they deserve a salute and our congratulations. Now, I have prepared some notes, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to take you through what this means for all of us. So, there are 73, I beg your pardon, there are 73 outcomes and 39 annex documents, and they're saying that India's G20 presidency has been the most ambitious in the history of G20. Here. With 112 outcomes, the presidency documents, we have more than doubled the substantive work from previous presidencies. I'm reading out excerpts from the Delhi Declaration. We have more than doubled the substantive work from the previous presidencies, 2x to 5x number of outcomes and annex documents as compared to previous presidencies. India's footprint on G20 outcomes. Here is the list of footprints. Deccan high-level principles on food security and nutrition. So, India is saying that food security is a must. There are some people or some countries where there is no dearth of food and everybody goes to sleep after having eaten. And there are countries where millions upon millions of people go to sleep hungry at night, not knowing where the next meal will come from. So, the Deccan high-level principles on food and food security and nutrition deal with this problem. Secondly, Chennai high-level principles for blue ocean economy, and this talks about, conservation, protection and responsible use of ocean resources while enhancing resilience against climate impacts. So, this is what it is about, If you fish responsibly. If you extract oil from the ocean, do it responsibly. Any mineral exploration, do it responsibly. And also, resilience against climate impacts. So, how do you enhance resilience? By letting nature be as it is. There isn't much you can do in the oceans except to stop, interfering so rapidly. Because ours is, in fact, the human race is most predatory. Any other animal in the animal planet or fish, they will hunt when they need to eat. When they are hungry, then they will hunt. Mostly, 99% of them are like that. It is only the humans, they will hunt. And when I use the word hunt, it's an example. I'm not saying specifically hunting, but I'm saying that we tend to do it just for the joy of sport, or we tend to do it because we are greedy. So this calls for a restraint on that. Apart from that, there is a Goa roadmap on tourism, Gandhinagar implementation roadmap for land restoration, and Jaipur call for action to enhance small and medium scale industries with access to information, which means that you can actually, they can double their profit or enhance their profit if they get timely information. This is what this talks about. After that, they're talking about nobody left behind as AU joins G20. So AU is the African Union, ladies and gentlemen. 55 nations have joined under the aegis of the AU, and G20 effectively is now G21. And so this is what it is. And Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world is a family, this whole earth is a family. This is what this talks about. And this is what Prime Minister Modi promised, that India will, India will be the voice of those who cannot talk for themselves. India will be the voice of those who cannot, for all practical purposes, India will be the voice of those who do not have that kind of diplomatic heft or that kind of, wealth they are not listened to. So India will sort of do that for them. India will be their voice. And Global South is now part of the world decision-making process. Indian presidency has crafted solutions that resonate with each member, action-oriented outcomes. The presidency ensured that geopolitical differences don't overshadow developmental outcomes. So like I said, every nation has its own geopolitical considerations. Some of them are in a cold war against each other. Many of them don't have normal diplomatic relations. But at the same time, the poor are the poor, whether they are in Russia, whether they're in Ukraine, China, India, or the United States of America. And this is for them. This is for those who cannot stand up for themselves. So India has decided in its year of presidency to step up for those who cannot step up for themselves because of various reasons, obviously. And amongst them are countries of the Global South. So about the Ukraine war, I'm just reading out from here. They say, despite the political differences, paragraphs through 7 till 14, so 37 pages, tons of paragraphs. Paragraphs through 7 and 14 under the section for the planet, people, peace and prosperity acknowledge the adverse impact of wars around the world, calls for effective and timely implementation of the Black Sea Initiative, in brackets, for grains. The Black Sea Initiative is essentially, Russia and Ukraine are at war and Ukraine was supposed to be the granary of the world. So we're saying that Russia or Ukraine should not stop the ingress or egress of grains because they feed the world and the grains go everywhere. So this is a place where we must consider that, be kind to people, because once you stop grains, then people stay hungry throughout the night because there is no food and inflation happens. Prices go up because of scarcity of supply. This is what this talks about. Then they're also talking about, the fourth point states, today's era must not be of war. This is what Prime Minister Modi said long back, actually. He said, this is not an era of war. So this calls for peace, especially with Russia and Ukraine. Then strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive growth. So we are talking about sustainable value chains. They're talking about support for developing countries, reduction in cost of doing business and facilitation of FDIs are some of the key objectives. Unlocking trade for growth is on the agenda, fighting corruption. Lots of points on fighting corruption across the world. And they're talking about international cooperation and information sharing for combating corruption. They're talking about strengthening asset recovery mechanisms. So if somebody's been corrupt and run away or something like that, we have a few cases like that in India, asset recovery. Somebody's taken something, they recovered the asset. Then promoting integrity and effectiveness of public bodies and authorities responsible for preventing and combating corruption. Again, this point of corruption. How do you strengthen public bodies? You need to have mechanisms in place, institutions in place, so that you can fight corruption effectively. And this is what this whole document is about. Terrorism had to have a mention here. No doubt about it. Terrorism is a problem for the entire world. India is a victim. Pakistan is the perpetrator. So terrorism, and G20 vows to fight it. Other concerns like cybersecurity, food security and fertilizers, they're key concerns. Money laundering is recognized as a serious threat as well, find itself hyphenated with terrorism. So obviously, where there is terrorism, there has to be money laundering. You can't have terrorism without money laundering. How do you fund terrorism otherwise? Terrorism is not a tax-paid venture. You manage money through laundering or through narco-terrorism. And again through laundering, because narco-terrorism will create dollars, but how do you wash the money? How do you turn black money into white, for that matter? How do you send it, from one bank to the other with shell companies, holding companies, fake invoices? There is a whole ecosystem. One day maybe I'll create a video on this and tell you how it works exactly, but there is a whole ecosystem and this is to fight against that. All right. Other consensus measures include microeconomic impacts of food and energy security, very important. Strengthening global health and implementing One Health approach. Finance health collaboration, delivering quality education. Culture as a transformative driver of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Green Development Pact for a Sustainable Future. Key focus on implementation of Paris Agreement on objectives of UNFCCC. So, other things also, a lot of things here as far as mainstreaming lifestyles of sustainable development. Emission reduction. In the end, we have to be off fossil fuels. Everybody knows that. That is one of the main drivers of pollution in this world. So, emission reductions, promotion of sustainable lifestyles for climate action, commitment to implement the G20 high-level principles on lifestyle for sustainable development, support the implementation of high-level principles, HLPs, through international cooperation, financial support and development, deployment and dissemination of technology. Encouragement for international organizations to incorporate HLPs into their programs as appropriate. The launch of Travel for Life and support the development of smart destinations. I'll just explain this to you. So, there is this entire concept, ladies and gentlemen, of sustainable development. So, what happens is that when you have development, you use resources, and resources, consumption of resources fuels development, right? So, for you, development may be cars, but that means going deep inside the earth and getting out iron ore, getting out copper, getting out lithium. That is one. Secondly, it means more usage of fossil fuel. That is another problem. So, if you look at it in the sense of how we tend to consume resources, we need to be very responsible, and this is what this talks about. It's a very futuristic document, so to say. They've also spoken about multilateral development banks, MBDs, bigger, better MBDs, which is why the World Bank and the IMF heads were here in town. Ajay Banga was here in New Delhi. I think he still is here. And so this is what they were discussing. Triple agenda for more effective MBDs, boosting World Bank's financing capabilities, regulatory framework for crypto assets, digital public infrastructure is a key initiative in the same direction, digital identity, UPI and platform to share personal data without compromise. India leads in all three. So, without compromise, sharing of personal data for stuff like digital economy and UPI. In India, UPI is very popular, and India is exporting UPI to the rest of the world. And recently, I saw a video on I think I saw it on Twitter, where somebody had put out one young man walking into a ATM kiosk and actually withdrawing money without using a debit card or a credit card. Very surprising. All he did was, it was a specially enabled ATM in which he went to the UPI app and he punched in stuff, and there was a barcode, and he scanned the barcode and he pressed the amount, 500 rupees, and he took out 500 rupees from the ATM. So is this the future that we're looking at? Safe, secure, fast, and transparent as far as the transactions are concerned. And you can withdraw money. And why do you need credit or debit cards in the first place? You have your phone, and that is how it should be. Harnessing artificial intelligence, it talks about international taxation, gender equality, enhancing economic and social empowerment, and securing women's food security, nutrition, and well-being. It also speaks about biofuels and ethanol, etc., which Mr. Nitin Gadkari has been pushing for many, many years, and India is trying to mainstream that and saying that, hey, this is an alternate to fossil fuel. So let's mainstream this. So ladies and gentlemen, huge document, very lengthy. I'm again going to read it. I read excerpts of it, took down notes, shared with my research team. They shared with me. Haven't been able to go through the entire stuff, but I will tonight. Exciting document. And again, once more, I'd like to say that congratulations to everybody in India. It's with public support that this was done. And I think the greatest diplomatic event in the history of modern India has been pulled off successfully. Touch wood, it's not over yet, but the main parts are over. You have a declaration with a 100% agreement rate. Phenomenal. I wish everybody all the best, and many congratulations to Prime Minister Modi, Dr. S. Jaishankar and his entire team who's done a phenomenal job, and to the G20 Sherpa. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata ki Jai.